Hello everybody, Godzilla here, and I'm here with a different type of video. This will be part 1 of my 100 sub special. This one being that I review all the Godzilla movies in 10 words or less. Yeah, I know, I'm taking it from Jilo, I'm not entirely sure, sorry. But yes, I'm sort of copying him. But it's just that I'm doing a live action, so to speak. With the exception of anime, but you know the point. And I'm using a voiceover as opposed to a voice, or as opposed to the camera, because right now I'm using my memory card and I do not have a backup, so I'm just using this. So yeah, there's that. So anyway, let's get right to it. So a couple of rules first is that for one, there are no negatives, so I'm just going to be using the positive numbers. And let's go over of what the numbers mean. So 1 is basically, it's not good. No redeemable factors to it at all. And I wouldn't recommend watching it again. 2, it's still bad, but there's at least 1 or 2 good things in it. At least 1 or 2, but it's still bad. 3 is still bad, but at least it's laughably bad. 4, there are some positives and there are some negatives, but the negatives do outweigh the positives. And then 5 is just neutral. You just kind of feel nothing and kind of wish there was at least something there. 6 is a good film, but it's got its flaws too. 7 is also a good movie with maybe a few flaws, but it's very enjoyable. 8 is a great movie. This is where the negatives can are still there, but the positives really outweigh the negatives. And 9 is excellent, to where you could pretty much say that this is like very, very good, but there's just that one flaw that keeps it from being a 10. And then finally 10 is that this film is pretty much excellent in all the ways. It's spectacular. Maybe a few nitpicks, but other than that, like, you would want to watch this again and again. So yeah, let's get right into it. The first villain always will be the darkest. Major downgrade, but can still be enjoyable. Cheesier than cheese pizza. Still as good as one though. 2 newborns can beat the king? Seriously? Friendship solves everything. Well, almost everything. Like grades again, but so much better. Take note, sequels. Just like seawater. Salty taste, but fun. I almost cried at the final scene. Fight me. The final battle is so awesome. Why is there no monsters? Where are they? This movie is both funny and surprisingly dark. I think we found a new language. Kaiju knees! Jaga, Jaga. This movie is a trip. Definitely a metal first entry for a new monster. So Godzilla can beat these two, but not newborns? Really? The most underrated Godzilla film. Talking to you, Ebert. How is this underrated? Still pretty good. Godzilla and Ghidorah fight one-on-one. Finally! Fear Batra! Seriously, he's the best thing in the movie. Super Mega Godzilla is best Mega Godzilla. Changed my mind. Pretty stellar movie if you ask me. Jeez, everyone was dying in the 90s. Actually pretty enjoyable. Also, Zillow's my birth monster. Thank Godzilla, it wasn't like Godzilla's Revenge. She's evil, I tells ya. Evil! Good, but not great. The only film with Godzilla and Mechagodzilla only. Finally! Make Kiri and Mothra fight and this will be better. Hey look, Infinity War before Infinity War. Less predictable too. We have redeemed ourselves. Somewhat. Interesting reboot. Sad it got discontinued. Very down to earth, but still out of this world. Welcome to Mechagodzilla City. Be careful, don't die. And that is all the Godzilla films. So now let's go into my top 5 worst and top 5 best. So let's get right to that, shall we? So let's start with the worst. So my number 5 worst is gonna have to be Son of Godzilla. Now, this one is not bad per se, but it's just a little bit lacking in terms of the other films. Um, it's pretty fun, if I can be honest. Like, it's a pretty fun film, and it's really the final scene is really heartwarming, just showing that Godzilla that cares for his son. But if I can be honest, the battle scenes weren't that good. The plot is interesting, but not in the right place. Manila, I will admit, kind of looks dumb. Godzilla's suit actually doesn't look too good, and the Kamacuras, yeah, they suck. And Kumonga is okay. Like, Kumonga at least looks decent, because I like spiders. But yeah, but the final scene really puts this film at the number 5 spot. It would probably be lower if it wasn't for that scene, because that scene truly is heartwarming. Okay, and then my number 4 worst has to be Mothra vs. Godzilla. Mothra vs. Godzilla is very weird to me. A lot of people love this film and consider it to be one of the best films of the Godzilla franchise. So, and for some, it's their favorite. To me, I just found it meh. I do like Mothra for sure in this film, and the plot is definitely one of the better stories in the Godzilla series. It's just the ending that really gets my head scratching. Because I mean, yeah, sure, Godzilla gets to beat Mothra, the adult one, because she's all awake and such. But then when these two little caterpillars come up, all of a sudden Godzilla gets freaking like webbed up, and like it's nothing. When these little larvas, they have no freaking experience at all. But yeah, to be truthful though, the plot is definitely one of the better parts of the movie. It's just that one scene that really gets to me, and I know that one scene shouldn't make me put a movie this low, but later on when Godzilla takes on 2 other monsters, you really had to question as to how Mothra larva, or even 2 of them, can beat Godzilla. Maybe it's for irony, but I still don't like it. I mean, the movie's not bad, but still, that one scene just really gets to me. Now for my number 3 worst is Ibra Horror the Deep. This one is admittedly one of the more blander of the Godzilla movies. Nothing really happens, and you don't even get to see Godzilla until like 40 minutes into the movie. Which doesn't sound like much, but in a Godzilla movie, that's a huge chunk of it. So you don't even get to see Godzilla for like much of the film. Even though this was supposed to be for King Kong, still, you really have to question as to why Godzilla wasn't in the movie for a long period of time. And even when he's on screen, meh. And then there's Ibra, who is pretty bland as well. Like, it's just a lobster, and he has an annoying freaking cry. And the Mothra's in it for some unknown reason. And then there's a giant condor, and it's just like it's just trying to do too much. And then the fight scenes aren't even that good. Like, maybe the final fight with Ibra is funny, but even then, like, it can be fun, but there are just some things about it I don't like, and I just got bored of it, if I can be truthful. So, unfortunately, this is one of the films that actually got me bored. So, yeah, very unfortunate there. Number 2 worst goes to Godzilla's Revenge. Oh boy, Godzilla's Revenge. Where do we begin? I used to actually have a respect for it, until it really got me thinking. Where are the monsters in this movie? Like, really, where are the monsters? And before you say anything, like, oh, there is Godzilla, and there's Manila, and there's Ghidorah. It's all in a freaking dream. And you could say that nothing freaking happens in this movie other than a kid gets kidnapped by these freaking guys. He's freaking knocked out for a while, and then he wakes up, and then freaking gets the courage to freaking fight them off. Really, if anything, this should have been, like, not a Godzilla film. And I'm actually a little bit disappointed that this was after Destroy All Monsters, which was supposed to be the final movie. You could really tell that yeah, Destroy All Monsters was supposed to be the final Godzilla movie, and it really does show. And Gabra's fine, I guess, even though he's not even freaking real. Like, really, he's not even freaking real. He's just in a dream. You can basically say that nothing is canon in this movie. But there is one more movie that I really dislike. And for what you get in this movie, it's funny, but the fact that it's a dream and there's no monsters in it, technically speaking, you don't see Godzilla anywhere. It's really, really, really frustrating when you don't even get Godzilla in the real world. I don't like that. So, but at least there's a little bit of enjoyment, but nah. So, yeah, that's my number 2. And finally, for number... Oh, you freaking know what it is. Godzilla Raids again. Even after all these years, even after my top 30 list of Godzilla films, this one is still my least favorite. Oh, yay. Okay, so... Admittedly, the Japanese version is not bad. Granted, not good, but still not bad. But then we get to the freaking English version. And I know, don't let an English version get to me, but this one really gets to me. For one thing, it's called Gigantus the Fire Monster. Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? At least the 1998 Godzilla film had the courage to say Godzilla, but then this one just says Gigantus. Seriously? Ugh. And the dialogue is just so freaking horrible. And yeah, I'll be talking about the English one, and oh my god, like, I can't even think. Like, that's what happened. It destroyed brain cells. The English version destroyed brain cells. That is how bad this is. And they got the roars mixed up, and the suits, they don't even look that good. Like, the 55 suit looks okay, but Anguirus looks like it just got rushed. And I know that it was a second film, but geez, guys, really? You couldn't freaking, like, wait an extra year or two to, like, or just have quality amped up? Like with the 54 one? The 54 one was just so great, while this one just looks so rushed and poorly edited. And this is for 55, and then... Or just look at this from and then 54. Like, 54 was just so brilliantly done. And I just don't get it. Like, I don't get what happened there. And, okay, I know that it was like a year after 54, but still, I mean, like, they should have had at least like a year or two to, like, make newer suits that are more durable for fighting. And then Anguirus, you guys know, is probably one of my least favorite monsters, so it doesn't help that he comes from this film. So all I gotta say is, the Japanese dub is not bad, but the English version is what really ruins it. Well, the good thing is, we are done talking about the worst things. Now let's talk about the positive things. Starting off with my number 5 best is Godzilla Final Wars. Probably my favorite Millennium Godzilla film. And like I said back then, this movie is just so much fun. This is what I consider like a really fun Godzilla film. You just gotta turn off your brain and just freaking enjoy it. This is, to me, like an upgraded version of Destroy All Monsters, except a little bit better. And this is just such a good film. Like, I actually really enjoyed it. Like, even as like a even just like really turning serious and trying to make sense of it, you really can't with this film. And really, you just can't make any sense with it at all. And really, you just have to have fun with this film. I know I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me, I really enjoy it. Especially the final fight with Kaiser Ghidorah. It is definitely one of the best fight scenes in the entire kaiju genre. To me, at least, it is just so much fun, so enjoyable. I really do like the characters, and the villain probably has to be my favorite Godzilla villain that is not a monster. So yeah, definitely really cool film. Just really love it. Number 4 best has to go to Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, my favorite Showa film. This one was now this one for me was a split decision between Gojira and this film. I ultimately chose this film, mainly because of just how, again, like, to me, for a Godzilla film, you have to have fun with it. And this is what I like about it, is that the final battle scene is just so much fun. And for the time, 1964, this was just such a treat to see. Like, really, it is such a treat. And pretty much, this was just one of the best royales ever. The Godzilla versus Rodan for like the first half of it, and then Mothra pretty much tangling up Godzilla and Rodan. It probably it's probably one of the funniest scenes in any Godzilla film. And then Mothra Larva tries to fight Ghidorah, but fails badly. And then the three-way begins with Ghidorah, Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra. It's definitely one of the best kaiju fights ever, and it's definitely one of the best scenes in the entire film. And really, I cannot wait to see this again in the new 2019 film. Definitely one of the best Godzilla films, by far. Number 3 best has to go to Return of Godzilla. To me, comparing this one with Gojira, I had to give it to this film for really just bringing back the really destructive and just terrifying tone for Godzilla. And this film does it almost perfectly. And I just love it for how apocalyptic it feels in the end, and just how scary Godzilla is. Yeah, sure, he could look derpy in a few scenes, but even then, it just shows you just how scary it can be. And the fact that they built a robot for this, like an animatronic, that just comes to show how dedicated these guys are to making these films. You could definitely see it. And yeah, the Super X is pretty cool. Like, it's a new weapon for it, which is pretty much what he fights in the movie. So if you wanted a kaiju fight, there you go. It's kind of a kaiju fight. But really, The Return of Godzilla is just a really down-to-earth Godzilla film. And it's definitely one of the best Godzilla films, in my opinion. And I know that this film is just so underrated. And Roger Ebert, what's wrong with you? Why would you consider this a comedy? Either way, this is one of the best Godzilla films, and pretty much one of the darker ones as well. Alright, for my number 2, these are the 2 films that I just cannot live without. My number 2 is Godzilla vs. Ghidorah. This movie is what got me into the series. This wasn't the first Godzilla movie, but this was the movie that got me into the franchise. So, pretty much what can I say about this film that hasn't been said? Well, let's talk about the monster himself, the one he's fighting, Destroyer. This monster, to me, just symbolizes what we like created. Like, Godzilla was one thing, like, he's a force of nature, but Destroyer is something that we created. And Serizawa may not have intentionally wanted this to happen, but it happened. And guess what? This is a result of what would have happened if he made multiple destroyers, like the weapon, the Oxygen Destroyer. This is what would have happened if we made so many of them But just think about that. Think about that for a moment. Think about if we made more of those things. And if this is bad enough, think about how bad it can get if we use that on so many locations. That would just mean that Earth is like, it's doomed. Like, it would be pretty much doomed if we made so many of those things. But yeah, Destroy It to me is just is really just to symbolize of what Serizawa was trying to prevent, but failed in the end. And then Godzilla dying, I mean, like, you want it to be a happy ending, you do, but you could just feel like the time running out for him. He's gonna die, like, there's no preventing it. And you could just feel like just the urgency of just trying to like slow down the apocalypse, because this film is apocalyptic. Like, this is a apocalyptic event, and just it's so freaking like terrifying to think that this monster right here, it could explode at one point and kill us all off. That is freaking scary. Oh yeah, then Godzilla Jr. Finally, we get an offspring of Godzilla that actually looks like him and not a Pillsbury Doughboy look-alike. But anyway, and then the fight scenes, there's actually plenty of action in this movie, like the Destroyer swarm and the mall, I guess it is. I don't know what building it is, but correct me in the comments below. But yeah, that was like an Aliens sort of thing. Like, I could definitely see the Aliens a sort of vibe from it. And Godzilla Jr. versus Destroyer, that was pretty cool. Getting to see Godzilla Jr. finally fight, as opposed to like in the Showa series where he just helps, as opposed to actually fighting. And then the final scene with Godzilla vs. Destroyer is probably one of the most emotional, and just like, you just want Godzilla to freaking kill Godzilla or Destroyer for what he did to his son. And then there's the whole thing about Destroyer being the toughest opponent. Technically, he kind of was, because technically speaking, Destroyer actually did succeed in what he was doing, which was break Godzilla's heart and speed up the meltdown process. Because I bet you anything, if it wasn't for Destroyer killing off Godzilla Jr., it probably would have taken a little bit longer for the meltdown to come. But Destroyer sped it up, and I feel like that's the ultimate of victory for any monster, was to maybe not kill them directly, but speed up the process of their death. To me, that is a victory in itself, as well as emotionally attacking and pretty much killing Godzilla's only family member, which is definitely pulls heartstrings. And then the final scene with Godzilla dying. Yep, we all seen it. We all at least had one tear in our eyes. Yeah, if you didn't, what's wrong with you? No, but seriously though, the scene with Godzilla is just, imagine if you're a hero that you know for a long time died right in front of you and was said to never come back ever again. I personally never felt that, but for here, like, I could actually feel it, and every time I watch it, I always get misty-eyed, if not teary-eyed. And that is why it is number 2. Now, before we get to number 1, let's go over some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Gojira. Obviously, it is the first Godzilla movie, and it's definitely a classic upon Godzilla fans. For some, it's even number 1. But for me, I just enjoy Godzilla films. Some others a little bit more, but that doesn't mean that Gojira is a bad movie. In fact, it's one of the best movies of all time to me. And yeah, Gojira will still be a very, very good movie. The second one is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Honestly, I actually really enjoyed this movie. Like, to me, it was definitely a really good Godzilla movie. Space Godzilla is one of the coolest monsters, and just one of the best fight scenes, final battle scenes in any Godzilla film. And then the last mention goes to Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. I really enjoyed this film. A lot of people may not, but I really enjoy it for how it is, especially Megaguirus being my third most favorite monster of all time. And so yeah, that is it for honorable mentions. And finally, for number 1, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Oh yeah, you all saw it coming. To me, this is okay. This is probably not the first Godzilla film, and definitely one of the later ones that I've seen. But to me, the fact that Godzilla and King Ghidorah finally have a film where they're alone together, no other monsters, no allies for either of them, just the two of them, they get to fight, and that's just what I want to see, is Godzilla and King Ghidorah do get out, and not one, but 2 fights. The first one being where Godzilla and King Ghidorah fight, and obviously Godzilla wins by blowing off King Ghidorah's head and sending him in the water, but yet King Ghidorah is still alive, even after all that. And then later on, King Ghidorah comes back as Mecha King Ghidorah. What other film has the opponent get defeated and then come back as a mechanized kaiju? Like, really? Like, who else can do that? Like, no other Godzilla film has done that yet, and to me, that just gives it just an overall, to me, it just amazes me of how brilliant these producers are. Making a mechanized Ghidorah, like, wow, like, it just, I mean, really, you have to put this in the mind of the fans back then. Like, back then, this was probably the coolest thing ever, is seeing a giant metal dragon taking on a Godzilla. Like, that must have been so freaking cool. And then, then the final scene, and then the fighting scenes, I haven't got to the fighting scenes yet. They are probably the best thing in the film. And really though, that's just like, the icing on the cake, because the fight scenes, they are just so freaking good. And yeah, you can see the wires, but you know what, it's whatever. Really, it's whatever. Just the cheesy goodness that is this film. And I may not be a fan of time travel, but to me, it kind of works, if I could be truthful. I don't watch Doctor Who, but for me, this was probably one of the better time travel movies. Just the thought of people coming from the future wanting to quote-unquote help the humans by getting rid of Godzilla, by going back in time and taking away the Godzillasaurus from the atomic bomb scene. Like, that is just so cool to me. And then leaving the Dorats there to make their own Godzilla, which is Ghidorah. And I mean, people will say that the time travel thing messes up the whole thing, like Biollante shouldn't have existed, but that's kind of sort of fixed when Godzilla comes back. So technically, the time, the time line really isn't messed up from this movie. Sure, it could get confusing, but really though, it's restored once Godzilla comes back. And and also one more thing is the M11. I forget his name, but I think it's M11, the android guy. That guy is just awesome to me. Like, that guy is just such an awesome character. And usually I will not mention human characters, or characters for that matter that are not monsters. This guy is just so cool. The fact that a futuristic robot can run that freaking fast and can have like this Terminator sort of vibe to him. Both 1 and both 1 and 2 at the same time. 1 being the beginning and then 2 at the end of it. It's just so cool. But yeah, to me, this is my number 1 favorite Godzilla film, where Godzilla and King Ghidorah, they freaking fight, and and basically there's no help from any other monsters. It's just them two duking it out, and that is why it's my number 1 favorite Godzilla film of all time. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this a lot. What do you guys think of this first part of the special? And if you have a top 5 favorite and least favorite Godzilla films, do tell in the comments down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll leave a like if you liked it. And I'll see you guys later for the next part of my 100 sub special. Take care. See you later. Bye bye.